Mike Evans, welcome to NFMT.
Hey, glad to be here. Apologize for the hoarse voice. Did 4 or 5 sessions in the last week and kind of losing it. But let's just jump right into this. Wait, is that Greg from Virginia Beach back there? You never know who you'll run. How long have we known each other, Greg? 30 minutes or so. We go way back. We'll talk about those good times later. Let's just jump right into it. Gang change. There's our old buddy, Charles Darwin, and that is so on spot. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but those that are most willing and able to adapt to change. That applies to individuals, it applies to teams, it applies to departments, it applies to organizations. Those of us that innovate, that adapt, that embrace change, that constantly build new skills, develop new competencies, will thrive in what we call this new world of work, future work. Things are changing really, really fast, and if you fight change or resist it, you will find yourself in a very unenviable position in the future. So we're going to give you some tips on what that might look like. We only have an hour or so here together, so I'm going to move quickly. Don't get too paranoid with that gigantic eyeball staring at you, but it's dead on accurate. Every single one of us in here is being thoroughly scrutinized at every moment of the day. From the shake of your head to the blink of your eye, everything we do, we're being watched. And it says signals to people around us. And those signals impact the way those people will behave. By show of hand, how many of you in this room consider yourself a leader? Every hand should be up because you are the only person that's going to lead your life, your career, and your destiny. Nobody's going to do that for you. Leadership is not about your title, what's on your business card. It's not about how big your office is or how many people report to you. Fundamentally, it's about how you live your life, how you go about your job. More importantly, it's the congruency between what you do and what you say. How do those things look? In fact, let's try something really quickly here. Just play along with me if you would. So if everybody would just put your hands out in front of you like a big alligator mouth opened up. And on the count of 3, I want us all to clap simultaneously so it sounds like one gigantic thunderous clap. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Something happened there. Let's try it again, gang. 1, 2, 3. I did that 2 times and I got 70% of you. What happened? Brian, did you see what happened? Any ideas? They followed what? They followed my action instead of my words. What's the meaning there? What's the learning? Words are cheap. As a supervisor, manager, leader, understand this and internalize it. People will tolerate what you say. They're going to wait and watch and see what you do. Then they'll make their decision as to what they will do. Have you ever worked for or reported to a manager, supervisor, or leader who was telling you one thing and they themselves were acting inconsistently with the message? How much credibility does that leader have in your eye? 0. How difficult is it to gain it back? Nearly impossible. Try something else with me really quick. Put your right index finger up. Right index finger real quick. Point to your chin. Now your chin's down here. Chin's down here. Do you feel the confusion in the room? Multiply that confusion by 1,500, and that's generally the confusion we see in organizations. We're telling people one thing, and unconsciously or subconsciously, we might be acting inconsistent with the message, and it gets people confused. It creates confusion, lack of alignment, lack of understanding, misunderstanding, levels of distrust and mistrust within an organization. Nothing is more important as a leader, manager, supervisor to model the way. Do what you say you will do. Be consistent with your actions. In fact, the video, what people are watching you do, must be consistent with the audio. Whatever the message is, you better be darn sure your actions are showing folks that you mean what you say. Everything we do defines us. We call it your personal brand, your default brand. We all have a default brand. It's just how other people see you. And guess who made them see you the way they see you? You did. Through everything you do, all the actions you take, the experiences you create for people around you, develops your default brand. Some of us have a brand that is getting us to where we want to be in life personally and professionally. Some of us may be portraying a brand that may be holding you back a bit. You can apply this to your department as well or to your team. But what we do develops our brand, whether it's an individual brand, a department's brand, a team's brand, the organization brand. If you want to know really quickly how you're viewed, here's a real quick test. Go ask 10 people, 5 in your personal life, 5 in your professional career, for 3 words that come to their mind when they think about you. So you're collecting 5 words from 10 people. How many words will you have? I didn't know there's going to be math involved, but it's 50. So you get the 50 words back, and the ones that are common, the commonality, that's how you're seen. Some of us will get those words, we'll look at it and say, hey, that's good, that's what I'm striving for, that's what I want to be known for. There may be some things on there that you don't want to be seen for. And I'm going to show you how you can shift authentically and genuinely, shift the way you're seen, your department's seen, or your organization's seen in a very impactful way, an impactful manner. Or any of you think about, you don't have to answer these out loud, but are you personally absolutely sure if you have people that report to you, do you know how they see you, what they think about you? Are you pristinely aware of how your colleagues view you? What about your boss? Are you absolutely certain how your boss sees you, what they think about you? How about your internal and external customers? And finally, your friends and family. There's only one way that you can answer these questions and be 100% sure that you are correct. Does anybody have any idea what that would be? What do you need to do? It's 4 of the best practices in peak performing organizations. Open and candid conversation, asking for and offering feedback, getting perspectives and obtaining perspectives from others, talking about the elephant in the room. If you're not doing those things, you're clueless. We would say you have a phantom reality. You may see yourself one way, but other people see you completely different. It used to be that the big ate the small. In this new world of work, it's the fast that eat the slow. Those of us individually that are complacent, cling to the status quo, rely on everything that we've done in the past to help us get to where we want to be in the future, you're going to be in a bad spot if we're not constantly building new skills, developing new competencies, and bettering ourselves. Jack Welch had this to say not so long ago, the old CEO of General Electric. Organizations cannot be tentative. Excuses like channel conflict and marketing and sales aren't ready cannot be tolerated. Delaying you risk being cut out of your own market, perhaps not by traditional competitors, but by companies you may not have heard of 24 months ago. Think about that as it relates to what they did, what Amazon.com did to all the small mom and pop bookstores 20 years ago. They reinvented the business. They wiped them out. Complacency is very dangerous. This applies to individuals as well. There's people and there's forces right now, we call them the 7-sided pincer movement, 7 forces coalescing, coming together, and they're gunning for our jobs, they're gunning to replace your department, and coming to reinvent your industry. Constantly, slowly tinkering with what you're already doing to get a little bit better every day is not good enough. I think that hits home. The electric light did not come from continuous improvement of candles. We have to reinvent ourselves, reinvent our department, reinvent our teams, reinvent the organization. Here are some organizations that were highly admired. Blockbuster, you remember Blockbuster, the old brick and mortar place? They were emulated by so many organizations, highly respected firm, top performer. People wanted to benchmark what Blockbuster did. You know, do you remember when a Blockbuster had to get in your car, drive down to the brick and mortar building, or go scrounge around the store for 30, 40 minutes until you find what you want, drive home, watch the movie, maybe the next day get back in your car, drive it back, get back in your car and go home. You know, who ate their dust? Who ate their lunch? The digital revolution. They had the opportunity to purchase Netflix maybe 10, 15 years ago for $50 million. And they passed. Netflix's market cap right now is like $400 billion. You know, they clung to what they did best. They did not do what they needed to do to continue to thrive in the new world of work. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. Another one is, for those of you that are my age, we used to have these things called cameras, you know. And when you had a camera, what did you have to put in the camera, Richard? Film. And so you had to go get some film, right? How many pictures could you take with a roll of film? Yeah, it varied, 12, 24, 36 if you were a big spender. Then after you took all the pictures, what did you need to do? You had to find one of those places, right? Drugstore, one of those photomat huts. And then you had to go a couple days later and pick up the pictures, take them home, and you had 12 to 24, 36 pictures to look at. I would venture to guess some of you in this room have 20,000 pictures on your iPhone. They missed the move to digital. And the funny thing is they had a gentleman that worked for them named Steve Sasson. He invented, in 1978, digital photography. Went to the board of directors at Kodak, said this is the wave of the future. They said, Steve, go do your work. We are the film people. We're going to stick to our knitting. Now, if you go to Rochester, New York, it's basically a ghost town. Another one, Nokia used to be the world's leader in cell phone technology. They didn't see the move to the smartphone, and they're nearly extinct now. So complacency is critically dangerous to organizations, but also to departments, to individuals and teams. How many departments are being outsourced? We're going to go do our IT, bring our IT from outside. We're going to have HR from outside, payroll from outside. Here's 6 primary reasons these companies failed. They're either failed or they're on the verge of distinction. The first is they were too short-term focused, only looking out 6 or 12 months at a time, where we are and what we need to do to get to where we want to be in 12 months. They were too inwardly focused, meaning tinkering with their processes and systems, getting a little bit better every day with some of what they were already doing, but not looking at external opportunities and possibilities, not looking at what other industry trends were going on, not looking at what new inventions were coming to be. And so again, they just fell to the wayside. They were very complacent and just hung on to that status quo. No one's going to, top performing organizations like these sometimes can have a sense of arrogance, like nobody will ever touch us, and then they wake up 3 months later and they're nearly out of business. They had the wrong ratio when it came to managing and leading their organizations. Top performing organizations throughout the world have a 75% focus on leading, creating a vision, motivating, inspiring, everything leaders do, and a 25% focus on managing. Both are critically needed. Manage what you do as a manager is different than what you do as a leader. They had the wrong ratio. They were very reactive, waiting to see what else happened before they would make a move, rather than being the leaders in their industry long term. And they were very much averse to taking calculated risks. Those 6 things apply to every one of us in this room as well. Avoid them. By the way, I am going to send all these slides to Wendy, so however you want to get these, Wendy will get them to you. I promise for Wendy. I had an opportunity when I worked for Tom Peters' company. One of the gentlemen that worked for us was Jim Kouzes and his partner Barry Posner. They did 30 years of research into what is it that exemplary leaders do that get people to voluntarily choose to follow them. They looked at 100,000 case studies, leaders that were admired, leaders that people wanted to follow. And they boiled it down to 5 exemplary practices of leadership. The first is model the way. Do what you say you will do. Don't expect anybody else to do it if you're not doing it. It's kind of like that clap on 3 and we clapped on 2. Second, inspire a shared vision. Inspire a shared vision is the critical piece there. How's it going to benefit everybody here? How's it going to help make my job better? How's it going to make my life easier? How's it going to help my team? How will it benefit the community? How will it help my family? If people can't see what's in it for them, the likelihood that they're going to voluntarily choose to jump in and help you is very, very low. Challenging the process. Let's look at what we're doing. Like you go back and look at Blockbuster doing some great stuff, but they didn't challenge what they were doing. You look at Kodak. Steve Sasson wanted to challenge the process. He was told no. Enable others to act. Remove obstacles. Remove barriers. When you get perspectives from new people that come in and when they say, well, why do we have that system in place? Consider it. Look at it. Do we really need it? Is it obsolete? Why are we doing this? Sometimes we go into organizations and they're, why are you doing this form? It's taking you all this time. I don't know, somebody needs it. We just keep throwing it out. I don't even know what happens with it after it's completed and sent in. Encourage the heart. People need to know if we're winning. They need to know that they're contributing. It's one of the most important things a human being needs is the need to feel appreciated. They have the deepest craving to feel that you're appreciated. So some other differences between leadership and management. Leaders make things happen that otherwise would not have happened because they're thinking of the future opportunities, avoiding hazards. What do we need to get there? What do we have to have in place to support to get there? Managers make things happen that are supposed to happen. That's the root word of management anyway. Manos, handle things. And then both are critically important and both are needed. Leadership's about moving forward, going from where we are, even if we're successful now, where do we need to get to so somebody doesn't overtake us in the marketplace? Management's about control. We know what we have to do, let's do it the right way, make sure we're providing great customer experiences, but it's about control. Management is typically an assignment. Leadership's a choice. Even if you have nobody reporting to you, we can all demonstrate exemplary leadership practices. Managers often focus on tasks and activities. Leaders focus on the big picture and the vision of where we're going. That's where they want to spend most of their time. How many of you, by show of hand, love change? Just love it. You probably sit next to your boss, right? So, what's your first name, sir? Ben. Ben? Do you have any issues with your right arm there, your shoulder? Could you put your right hand up? So, Ben, when I'm pushing on you, why are you pushing back? It's human nature. If we try to push change out on people, human nature is they will push back if they don't see the compelling case as to why. The business case and what's in it for all of us. How do we all benefit? How hard is it to change your own behavior, Ben? For most people. It's hard. How about trying to change somebody else's behavior? Any of you married? How about changing 1,000 people's behavior? It's not an easy thing to do. I spent 8 years working with Dr. John Cotter from Harvard, and he's the guru, world-renowned guru on change and the process for leading change, and that's it. We need to find a way to get people to self-select in, create a want-to culture versus a have-to, and get people to go above and beyond their job description to help us get to where we want to be. I actually want to put your minds on change right now in this moment so you can feel what it's like and feel what those you lead experience when you implement a change. So play along with me. What we're going to do is this. We're implementing a new numbering transformation system, and from now on, I talk to every organization that's represented here. From now on, the new way we're going to do numbers is like this. We're moving from those squiggly lines, and we're going to this nice, neat system. So that's the new system. Every one of your organizations, your CEOs, they all bought in, and that's the new system. From here on out, that's the new numbering system. So I am going to give everybody in this room, literally, 60 seconds you have to memorize, internalize, and own the new system because we're going to have a test. So however you can do it, take a picture, write it down, memorize it, whatever you want to do, but go ahead and memorize it and own it. You have about 40 more seconds, and after 40 seconds, you will never see those squiggly lines again. And remember, your new paychecks will be written in the new system. So you have about 30 more seconds. You should see your faces in the crowd. It's like, I don't know what's he doing here. This is hard. I can't do this. Some of you might see a system up there. 2 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines. Yeah, good luck with that. So you have about 10 more seconds, whatever it is, just get it down. Then we will have the ultimate test. Let's see if we can get Wendy award some of those bonus points on your little scanned cards. All right, the new system's gone. So here's the next step. Whatever you did to memorize and internalize that new system, turn your paper over, hide your phone, whatever it is, get your cheat sheet away because it is now a new initiative, new strategy in our firm here. Okay? We're not going back. This is a new change. Now I need you to write down the following number. Turn that phone over, Greg, I see you. Write this number down. Ready? 3,279, using the new system. How many of you started by using the old numbers? Almost everybody I'm walking by, right. So are you embracing the change and running forward with it, or are you fighting the change? You're fighting the change. Now, that just gives you a sense as to what some of your folks might be going through, but if I truly wanted you to embrace that change, really wanted you to embrace it, and it was true, and I wanted you to own it and never go back, what else would it take? What else would we have to do? Say that again? Buy-in. What else? Incentivize. What else? I heard somebody say train. What else, sir? Coaching, training. What else? There you go. Who said that? There. Give her a gold star. Understand the benefit. Why in the world are we doing this? Those old numbers have served us well for eons. What's the benefit? What's in it for me? How's it going to make my job easier? How's it going to help my team? How's it going to help our entire organization, all stakeholders? If people don't see that, they will resist change. Would it help if I could provide you a system where in 3 seconds, I can have that new system burnt into your brain and you'll never forget it, ever, and I can do it in 3 seconds? Would that help? 3, 2, 1. Do you see that? Your mind's almost released. It's like, I can do it now. That's what great leaders do. They create such a vivid, crystal clear picture of the future that you can see yourself in the future. And you want it. I'll help you do that. I can see how that's going to be better. I can see how it's going to help grow the company. What's in it for me? Think of great leaders you've worked for. It's one of the 5 best practices. Inspire a shared vision. It's very difficult to act inconsistently with how you see yourself in the future. So we're here to talk a bit about disruption as well. We call it, some people say we're in the age of disruption, future work, the new world of work, whatever you want to call it, but things are changing, and they're changing quick, and they're not going to slow down. The white waters of change are not going to calm anytime soon. If anything, it's going to get much, much, much more turbulent. I just read an article 2 days ago that there are AIs out there that can read our minds. AIs that can read our minds. It's getting scary. I'm glad I'm an old man. Here's what the Pentagon thinks we're going to look like. So here's that, I mentioned it a little earlier, that this 7-sided pincer movement and the forces coming together to change things dramatically. We're well into it. They're coming to take our jobs from us. They're looking to replace your department and reinvent entire industries or put them completely out of business. Here they are. The first one is ERP, SAP, software. How many white-collar jobs have been eliminated, completely abolished over the last 10, 15, 20 years because the jobs are no longer needed because we have software that can do it just as well, actually do it better? What about white-collar robots, ATM machines? I remember when I was a kid going to banks and they'd be with my parents and there's 20 tellers in there. Now there's no tellers. We're banking on our phones or online, completely revamped it. Lights out warehousing. Amazon's opening 3,000 stores, won't be a human being inside them. You walk in, take whatever you want, leave, and somehow they bill you accurately. But it's just, McDonald's is just opening up a bunch of humanless stores as well. Globalization, location no longer matters. There's an abundance of worldwide talent and it's a mouse click away. Outsourcing, talked about that a little bit ago. Often faster, better, cheaper, and they're the experts because it's all they do. A lot of organizations do outsource IT, HR, or payroll. If your department's not demonstrating and bringing value to your organization, we could possibly be on the outside looking in. Why would they pay an internal team to do it that costs more when you can get somebody to do it faster, better, and cheaper, and they're the expert? Internet, bye-bye brick and mortar. Banking is necessary. Banks aren't. Retail's necessary. Brick and mortar shops aren't. Last time I was at a mall, it was like a ghost town. Things are changing dramatically. Internet, bye-bye, we just talked about that. Disruptive competition. Think about what Airbnb, Uber, Amazon have done just in those few examples there. I guarantee you there are some college students ensconced in their dorm rooms right now looking to reinvent all of our work. And again, artificial intelligence. There are AIs out there right now performing surgery. So if surgeons are expendable, my personal opinion is we're all expendable. What are we going to do to make sure that we're not? Like I said earlier, you better be developing a new skill and a new competency every single day, or you're falling behind the 8 ball, because you're going to get replaced by one of those 7 elements of the pincer movement. That's Ray Kurzweil. Ray used to be the head of Google's artificial intelligence unit. He had this to say not long ago. Medical robots will go inside our brain and connect our neocortex to the smart cloud by the year 2029. How long is that from now, Chase?
6 years.
6 years. 6 years, give or take. 6 years, give or take. Some people right now are saying with what's happening, I was reading some stuff from Elon Musk the other day, he thinks it's going to happen sooner, and it's almost the singularity, man and machine, humans and machine, I apologize, will become one in the very near future. Some of his physicist colleagues say, no, it might be another 10 years. Some are saying it might be sooner, but they all agree it is going to happen. Basically, what Ray is saying is that if you choose to, you will be able to plug your head into the smart cloud and know everything there is to know about everything. Imagine how you could compete in a world where everybody knows everything there is to know about everything. My kids are older now, but I fear for them in the next couple of decades. How do you compete in that world where if you choose to, you can know everything there is to know about everything? Some of us might look at that and say, that's crazy, it's never going to happen. Ray's made hundreds of predictions throughout his career as a futurist. He invented voice recognition systems. He predicted the internet 50 years ago, and he's been correct 90% of the time. So even if he's only 5% right, what's the impact that's going to have on all of us? And how will we all compete? What will we do to secure our spot in this new world of work? Here's some skills that are on the decline in this current economy. And if you look at the list that's up there, I would bet almost all of us in this room have been through workshops and training in almost every one of those categories. What we're looking at in the future is the skills that will prevail in the future. Here's the list that includes. And if you look at this list, there's kind of an overarching umbrella and a category that these all fall into, and it's about people skills. It's about leadership. And if we're not refining our ability to connect with people and to lead people and manage and supervise people, we will be falling behind. The surplus society has a surplus of similar companies employing similar people with similar educational backgrounds, coming up with similar ideas, producing similar things with similar prices and similar quality. Sounds like a hokey statement, but it's true. We're in a commoditization economy. We have a lot of choices out there, and often the choices are almost identical. I was driving down the highway the other day with my son in the car, and we're coming up on a car, and I thought it was a Bentley, like a $500,000 car. I'm like, Zach, look, what a great looking car. We get up, and it's a Chrysler. Bentleys look like Chryslers, Kias look like Mercedes, Hyundais look like BMWs. It's a commoditized economy. It's a sea of sameness. How are you personally going to become distinctive in this sea of sameness? How's your team going to become distinctive? How's your organization going to stay afloat and be distinctive? Why would anybody choose you, your team, or your organization over all the other options that exist out there? Quality and service is just the price of entry. If you're not already providing great quality and great service, you're falling behind the 8 ball. And there's the example of the cars that all look the same. But here's 3 elements, and this applies to every one of us individually, your team and your department and your organization. If you can't answer these questions very clearly and vividly in a sentence or two right now, work on it. What's the overt benefit you, your team, your department, or your organization bring to bear? What's the overt benefit that would cause me to say, okay, I'm using them now, but because of your overt benefit that you just stated to me, I'm moving, coming to you. If you can't answer that, work on it. What's the dramatic difference? How are you dramatically different from who I'm using now? And if you can't tell me how you're dramatically different, why would I change? If you can't tell me why I should hire you versus this gentleman, we're in trouble. You are better look. You're both good looking guys. And finally, what's the reason to believe? Prove it. Demonstrate it. What have you done? Give me a case study. What have you done? If you can't answer those three questions as an individual, team, department, and organization, work on it. What's the difference, would you say, Terry, between service and experience?
Service is what you expect, experience is what you do.
Service is what you expect, service is what you do. I like that a lot. You know, service, you have to have great service, but experiences are dramatically different than services. There's distinct from services as services are from goods. Experiences are truly memorable. They create loyalty. They create a connection. I remember when my kids were younger, coming home from soccer practices when they were little kids, always wanted to go to a particular Burger King versus the one that was 3 miles closer to home. And it was because they liked the experience. They liked the people, they liked the way they were treated. But it's the same food. It's the experience that differentiates us. It's the only differentiator now. It's a commoditized economy. It's how Progressive looks at it. We don't sell insurance, we sell speed. How many Starbucks fans in the room? You know, fewer and fewer hands go up. But anyway, why is it that people will pay $25 for a cup of coffee? It's not because the coffee is dramatically different. You can get the same cup of coffee from a Wawa, Sheetz, 7-Eleven, or wherever you are geographically. It's because of the experience. Here's how one of their managers put it to me. We've identified a third place that really sets us apart. It's not work or home. It's the place where people come for refuge. It's the experience. And the key is people will pay more for an experience. They expect good service. Any Harley riders in the room? No more loyal customers than than Harley riders, right? But they don't look at it that way. Here's the way one of their executives put it. What we sell is the ability for a 43-year-old accountant to dress in black leather, ride through small towns, and have people be afraid of them. It's the experience of having the Harley. You don't merely want to be the best of the best, you want to be considered the only ones that do what you do. Came from one of the world's leading management gurus, everybody's friend, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead. Jerry's spot on. Their music was the only music that did what they do, but that's where you want to get to within your company as an individual, your team, your department. You want to be considered the only one that can do what we do. We can't open the doors until Brian gets here because he's the only one that can do what he can do. When you get to that level, that's when you will thrive in this new economy, in this new world of work. It's going to be about, are you going to be distinct or are you going to be extinct? There's a lot of middle managers back throughout the 90s and early 2000s, hundreds of thousands that are extinct. They weren't needed. Churchill, when we look at helping companies or teams or individuals get results, that's how Churchill looks at results. It's no use saying we've done our best. We've got to succeed in what's necessary. We want to talk about goals or objectives. Those tend to be aspirational, and if you hit them, great. If not, no big deal. Results are concrete. You have to do this stuff. And I'm talking about the results in addition to the daily whirlwind that we're all taking care of to keep our operations running. That happens every day. You can't neglect that. We can all be busy as heck, even if you have nothing new to do in the future. But it's working on what you're already doing. Companies that continue to thrive are always looking to do and get to another place, and they're always focused on 2 or 3 things at a time that they know there's a window of opportunity, and if we come together and go through that window of opportunity, we will be in a much better position. Those are the results we want to create alignment on. We want to lead a team through those, and we want to make sure that we create focus and energy and passion around those new results. Ironically, what we found in 23 years, 92% of the time, I rounded it down to make all of us leaders look better, but 92% of the time, the people that report to us are not clear on the additional 2 or 3 results that you want them to help you achieve. 92% of the time, people are cloudy, vague, or not quite sure what you want me to help you achieve. Can I hold you accountable, Douglas, to help us achieve a result if you don't even know what it is? It's kind of silly, but 92% of the time we do. Even if I want to help you achieve it, I don't know what to do because I'm not sure what it is. 90% of leaders think they are excellent communicators. Those that follow those leaders say 18% of our leaders are good communicators. A little bit of a gap there that needs to be closed. But all of that good stuff that's listed up there, accountability, flawless execution, engagement, resiliency, agility, innovation, everything that's up there begins with clearly defined desired results. In addition to the whirlwind, we've got to get these 2 or 3 things nailed, and then when we hit one, replace it with a new one. There will always be more good ideas than you have capacity to execute. So it's get the focus on the 2 or 3, nail it, and move on. Get people focused on not only what the result is, but why it's important. There's limitations if we go to work and we're just focusing on our role and our responsibility or our job. The R's up there on the slide represent just what I said, your role and your responsibility or your team's role and responsibility. In organizations that are set up like that, do things ever fall through the cracks, Ira? Of course they do. Why is that? Anybody want to guess? Terry?
Because communication is
Communication is not clear. That's a big one. But another one is that's because cracks exist. We're operating in silos. How do most organizations where things are falling through the cracks and causing disruption internally, how do we tend to want to fill the cracks in? We need more what? Crack fillers. So we hire more people, crack fillers, and what do we create? Do things still fall through the cracks? Yes. What do we create, actually? Smaller cracks, and now they're more hard to see. What we really want to do is this. We want to create an entire culture around shared accountability, collaboration, and engagement around what's most important. Get everybody engaged, taking ownership, and the shaded areas up there become the results you're not achieving today, but you would achieve when people go above and beyond their job description to help you achieve it. Accountability is broader than what's on your job description, especially in today's economy. What you were hired to do 2, 3, 4 years ago, it's going to change just because technology's changed. It's a fluid economy. You know, you can't point the finger and say, that's not my job, that's not what's written on my job description. You know, they'll find someone that's going to do it, and it's not going to be you. You know, so whatever your results are for your team, you plug them in the shaded areas, and it becomes everybody on your team's accountability and job. That's your job. You're here to help us achieve those results. You have other things on your job description, but your job's not finished until the team achieves the result. And it's just, again, 2 or 3 at the most at a time. Not talking about the whirlwind, everything you do all day anyway. What's going to move you to the next level? And that becomes everybody's job. Whose job is it on a football team to recover a fumbled football? Why is that? What's your name, sir? Patrick, why is it? Why is it everybody's job?
we need the ball.
Why do we need the ball, Patrick?
We can score and win.
There you go, you got to it. We can score and win. The result on a football team is to win. When 53 Baltimore Ravens line up on the sideline on a Sunday, none of them are standing there saying, not quite sure why we're here today. They know the result is we're here to win. So even if number 1 up there, let's say he's a wide receiver, what would his job description be? Catch the ball. It's what wide receivers do. If he sees a fumbled ball, like the one that's down here, does he stand around and say, oh, we should have had our fumble recovery guy in? There is no fumble recovery guy on a football team. We go above and beyond our job description and jump on the ball because you're very clear on why we're here to win the game, and you do what it takes to help the team. In fact, if you're a defensive player, you'll cheer on a great play by the offense because we're in it together. That's how it should operate in every organization. We're all on the same team, and your job's not done until the team achieves the result. In football, it's to win the game. You all have results you have to achieve. It's got to become everybody's mentality. What would you say the difference is, John, between those 2 things, activity and results? So that's good. John said activity is kind of movement in any direction, and results is movement in a specific direction. Did I capture that right? So any other thoughts, difference between the 2? Let me ask this question to the entire room. Does all activity produce a result? See, you're all wrong. Because even if I do nothing, do I still get a result? It's just not going to be the result you want. You want your team coming in every day focused right there on the results that are most important, not on keeping busy. We tend to think of only the positive outcomes of the actions we take. We'd say activities are the actions people take that lead to results. The results are the desired and undesired outcomes of the activities we choose to take. That's where you want people focused on a daily basis, right there on the results. But what's the percentage of people that don't know what those are? 92. Results need to be meaningful, measurable, and memorable. Don't have time to get into the detail because we only have 3 more hours left, but it was supposed to be a joke. Would you say this gentleman here is focused on activity or results? Can be very active and still not get a result, right? Hey, so I don't want to just talk at you for the rest of the session that we have here together, so I'd like to actually have a little competition. And for this competition, I need everybody in the room to stand up, give yourself some room, and get a partner. Find a partner in the room. Everybody needs to have a partner. Those of you sitting down, grab a partner. If you do not have a partner, raise your hand. If you don't have a partner, raise your hand. Hey, come up here, gentlemen, sir. What's your name? Stan. Dave? Stan. All right. So here's how this game's played. It's going to be a 5-second game. I'm going to give the instructions one time, so pay attention. The game that we're playing, in order to win, you have to score points. And the way you'll score points, I'll show you in a moment, but the name of the game is called the hand push competition. So go ahead and size up the competition you just chose. The way the game is played is like this. You get right toe to right toe. You get a firm handshake grip. Stan's got one. The way I would score a point, I need to push Stan's hand to his hip. You can loosen up for demonstration purposes. If I push Stan's hand to his hip, I get a point. How then would Stan get a point? There you go. Get in your stance. When I say go, you're going to have 5 seconds. Ready? Oh, by the way, you're accountable for your own safety. Ready? Go. Score. Score points. Go. Score. Score. All right, stop. Stop. Give yourselves a hand. Have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you, sir. All right, so we have a lot of folks here, so if you just dial yourself in here for a moment, you're probably wondering what in the world is this moron doing. Do it for a few reasons. One is to lighten the mood in the room, get the blood flowing, have some fun, but more importantly, as a preface to this really important model. I've shared this model with people around the world, from front-level folks all the way up to senior executives all over the world, and I always get calls 3 months, 6 months, a year later, people saying, Mike, you know that simple model you showed us? It changed my life. And I only say that because if you can stick with me for the next 5-10 minutes, it can change your life today if you choose to apply it. So in that game that we just played, what was the object of the game? To win, say that again? To score points, and in business we call points results, right? What did you physically have to do to score a point? So you had to take an action. So now listen to the specific words I'm choosing to use here. It's the action that you chose, Carla, that produced the result you achieved. It's the action you chose that produced your result, and so on and so forth. Whatever action you took produced your result, right? How many teams in the room scored a lot of points? You two I saw were scoring them off the charts. So what are your names? Mark and Keith, stand up. Don't tell us what you're doing, just do it when I say go. Mark and Keith, ready? Go, score, go, 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 go. All right, good job. Give Mark and Keith a hand. And I think I saw a team over here that scored no points. Was that you two? Anthony and Richard, stand up. Anthony and Richard, when I say go, just show everybody what you did. Ready? Anthony and Richard, go, score, go, go. Stop, you're going to break his wrist. That's it, sit down. Give him a hand. So I noticed from up on the stage that everybody was playing the game differently. Some of us start locked in, loosen up. Some are loosen up, tighten up. Some of us doing all kinds of different things. I always ask, did anybody play the game different than what we just saw here? I was at NASA, not far from here, about 3 months ago, working with a group of engineers, rocket scientists. And 2 of them got up and said, yeah, Mike, we played it different. I said, well, show us. They got up, they grabbed hands, they touched hips, and they said, that's an infinite number of points. You know, leave it to the engineers to overthink the process. But here's where this model gets deeper. You all got the same instructions from the same person in the same room at the same time, and everybody played the game different. Why? So the rules were not clear? Well, yeah, I told you the object was to win. Did I tell you who you were playing against? You could have thought, well, it's me and my partner against the rest of the room, or it's me against my partner. It's the beliefs, it's just the way you interpreted the instructions and synthesized the information drove the action you chose to take. So we would say it's the beliefs you personally took into the game that drove the action you decided to take. Like with Mark and Keith, right? Their belief may have been, if we're going to win, we need to cooperate, win-win mindset. Over here, so I forgot the names again, Anthony and Richard, I'm going to win, Richard's going down, baby. It's a win-lose mindset. Doesn't matter, we all took different beliefs into the game. I'm not talking about major beliefs like religious or political. Very simple stuff, just like we said. If we're going to win, we need to cooperate. If I'm going to beat you, I need to put you down. It's just that's how we're wired. Where do these beliefs come from? Where do we get these beliefs? Say, who said that? It's it. It's our lifelong experience. Every experience every one of us in this room has had from the time you were born until today, professionally and personally, for you has developed your core set of operating beliefs. Every one of us has a different set of beliefs because we've all lived different lives. It's really important to understand that our experiences drive our actions. We'll develop our beliefs, which drive our actions, which produce our results both personally and professionally. And everybody has a different set of beliefs. In business, if you're not achieving your desired result, where on that model do we tend to focus? Yeah, in fact, are you familiar with action plans? If action plan A doesn't work, what do? Go to B. And if B doesn't work, go to C or change the result, right? If you find you're spending a lot of time up here at the action layer, enforcing compliance around policies and procedures, telling people what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, it's a big red neon blinking light saying that you have beliefs in your culture that are holding you back. And I'll give you an example. Can I grab this paper? I won't read it. I was working at Boston Medical. The nursing manager rolled out a policy that said for every new patient, fill out this new form. The nurses looked at the form. They said, there's nothing on here that we're not already capturing in the system. So what's the nurse's belief about that new form? It's a waste of time. So what will their action most likely be? They won't do it, or if they do, it's a half-hearted attempt. Can the nursing manager, if she chooses to, stand over their shoulder and enforce compliance and make them do it? Yeah, she's the boss, right? But if she has something more important to do across the street and she's no longer around, now what will the nurses do? They'll go back to their driving belief that it's a waste of time, not going to do it, or a half-hearted attempt. It's one of the reasons change is so hard. The reason that plane is under the action layer, most people, managers, leaders, supervisors, most people in general, operate with a model that's just 2 layers deep, telling people what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And it's time draining, energy consuming, and you end up spinning your wheels because when you're not enforcing compliance, people will always revert back to their beliefs, and that's what they'll take action on. That's why it's so important to make people understand the business case for why you're going through any change and what's in it for them. How's it going to make their life, their job better? How's it going to help everybody? The bottom 3 layers of that model is your culture. The way we think, which is the bottom 2 layers, and the way we act, which is the third. The way we think and act is your culture. Whether you have a team of 10, 1,000, or 10,000. The way that cumulative group thinks, acts, and behaves is your culture. It produces your financial results, your operational results, your customer results, and your employee results. If you have to achieve better results or loftier results or more difficult results, can we expect to achieve better results if we keep doing the same thing over and over and over? What's the definition of insanity? What we just said, that's from our old buddy Albert Einstein. If you need to get better results, we typically need to create some shifts in the way that we're thinking and acting. Otherwise, you'll continue to get the same result. If you take nothing else from today's session, remember this. Every action each one of us takes, everything you do, is an experience for everybody else watching you. And the most important part of that is it's either reinforcing what they already think about you, or you're developing a new belief they'll hold about you. And if you're aware of that and cognizant of it, you'll be creating the right experiences that get people to believe what you want them to believe, so they take the actions that help you get to the results. You just need to have that self-awareness. And it's surprising how many leaders, senior leaders, don't understand sometimes the experiences they create for people around them. That's, if you get down to the bottom, that's where you can have big time impact. By the way, the next time somebody gives you feedback, feedback is just somebody's belief. And guess who made them believe what they believe? You did. So don't get defensive with feedback. Don't try to say you shouldn't think that. They do think it, and you made them think it. Don't say, when did I ever do that? I don't remember. What color shirt did I have on that day? Where were we? Blah, 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 blah. Don't do it. Don't respond to it. Just accept the feedback. Say thanks for the feedback and consider it. But they either had a direct interaction with you and created them to have a belief. They may have observed you from afar, and they may have even misinterpreted what they saw, but they have a belief. Or there might be stories being told about you. Stories are third-party experiences. It's a big reason how cultures come to be what they are, from the stories being told within your culture. If we're only focused on the hands and the feet, we're neglecting the head and the heart, and that's where change is made. You gotta get to the head and the heart so people self-select in to help you make the change a reality. You can't force change upon anybody. To shift a belief, looking at that model, what do you need to do to shift a belief? There it is. Create a new experience. Sometimes you can shift somebody's belief based on one new experience. Sometimes it may take 20 because they have such a deep, rich history with you. But if you don't want them to think what they think, you need to own it. You need to take accountability and create the new experiences until their shift believes, or their shift moves, or their belief shifts. Got it on the third attempt there. Going back to the hand clap thing that we did. Your actions speak so much louder than your words. Words are cheap. People will tolerate what you say. They'll act on what they see you do. At the top of the model are your desired results clearly defined, meaningful, measurable, and memorable results. Do people know exactly where they are, what they need to start doing, what they need to stop doing? At the next layer, the action layer, how many people can make a link between what they do and how it helps us get to that result? And again, you'll have all these slides, so that's why I'm going a little fast. The beliefs. What beliefs exist throughout your organization that are helping you get to where you want to be? And what are some of the beliefs that are slowing you down? What are you going to do to shift those beliefs? And finally, what experiences might you be creating as a leadership team, either purposely or unconsciously, that are developing beliefs that are helping and developing beliefs that are holding you back? So when do you usually hear that question being asked? Who's accountable? After somebody messes up, right? And when somebody hears who's accountable, what do they really hear you asking them? Who's to blame? And when people hear who's to blame, what do they come up with?
Somebody else.
Excuses. And so as leaders, we're thinking, all we hear around here are excuses, so we ask the question more and more, who's accountable, who's accountable? But all people truly hear is who's to blame, and they come up with even more excuses. It's a nonstop merry-go-round. The connotation of accountability in most organizations is kind of negative. People see it as historic, punitive, focused on the past, and we beat people up after the fact with it. You know, think back to the results model that we just went through. If that's the experience that we're creating around accountability, the belief is, I want no part of it. We need to create highly accountable cultures if you want to achieve what matters most. So how do we transform it into something positive? Well, let's talk about that for a moment. If you look at the model that's up there, there's 3 sections. There's a pool of water in the middle, 7 categories into which all blame falls underneath, and above the water, we have the 4 keys to accountability. When somebody is down here below the water playing the blame game, this is where their mind's at. They're focused on everything they can't do. They're like an anchor holding the organization back. They're wallowing in self-pity. They're blaming other people around them. They're stuck and frozen in their actions. They're not looking for any way to move forward or look for other solutions. But the primary definition of below the water thinking is that. It's not my fault, nothing I can do about it. Now the opposite, when we're above the water, engaged, taking accountability, we're like an engine driving the organization forward, focused on what we can control, resolute, persevering, dedicated, determined, driven, looking for solutions around every obstacle. But the primary thinking up there is that. What else can I do to get to what matters most? Whether it's your own goal or result or the team's. You probably all know people in your personal life that are always achieving and exceeding what matters most to them. That's what they're always thinking, no matter what the obstacle is. You know, there's almost like this gravitational force that pulls people below the water. You know why? Because it's easy. You don't have to do anything down there. You're focused on blame. It's like a crystal clear turquoise pool, all your buddies down there sucking down margaritas saying, dive on in, John. Got our excuse, nothing we can do about it. The reality is, if you create enough ownership as a leader around the results, there's always, always, always some small step you can take to get closer to the result you want. Always. It's just a matter of ownership if you want it. Give you 2 quick stories to demonstrate this. Any of you from the Pacific Northwest in this room? So do you remember what happened with Jack in the Box back in the 90s? So they'd E. coli in their hamburger meat, killed a lot of people, made 700 very seriously ill, several hundred children had to have organ transplants. What was their first reaction to the incident? They pointed the finger of blame to Vaughn's supermarkets where they bought all their meat. Do you think Vaughn's was going to take that sitting down? Vaughn said, no, we get it from the meat packers. It's the meat packers' fault. Meat packers were all too happy to jump in the game, said, not us. It's the USDA, not enough inspectors to inspect the meat. The USDA said, nope, not us, it's Congress, didn't give us enough budget. On and on and on, the blame game went. Any idea how long it took Jack in the Box to recover financially? They don't even exist on the East Coast. It took them 7 years. The antithesis of that is back in Chicago in the late 80s. Do you remember when some lunatic laced capsules of Tylenol with cyanide? Killed 7 people. Caused hysteria worldwide. At the time of the incident, Tylenol had a 38% market share. Do you remember what their immediate reaction was within 48 hours? Not only did they pull it, they incinerated $300 million worth of product. So their market share went from 38 to 0 in 48 hours. Do you remember what they did next? Tamper-proof packaging was a state-of-the-art back then. In fact, it's still in everything today, from medication to peanut butter. In fact, if you have a headache, you've got to plan 3 days in advance to open the damn package up. But then they were the only ones that had that technology. How fast did it take them to go from 38 to 0 and recapture 38%? 2 months. That's the difference between playing the blame game and taking accountability. And always asking yourself, what else can I do? And in J&J's example, even if somebody puts you in a bad circumstance, most people would have given them a pass, said they can't control the lunatic. That was not what their CEO said. He said, we did not do enough to protect the consumer. It was our fault. We will all be put in a position where you will have justification to blame somebody. But all the time you're down here playing the blame game, you are not making any progress toward what matters most. You probably know people that live their lives down there below the water. They have their mail forwarded there. They live there. I have a brother that lives there. Everything is everybody else's fault or something's fault. And I said, no, Tommy, it's not. It's because of the choice you made and how you're going to deal with it. 2 people can have the same obstacle, same barrier, same challenge. One person can say, woe is me, I can't do anything, take off. Or you could say, I'll do whatever it takes, I'll find a way. People are wired differently. You have 100% control over how, when it comes to what you do now with your teams that you lead, how are you role modeling? You know, go back to our brand, our default brand. How are you building capability in your team? How are you energizing them to do what matters most? You don't have to answer this out loud, but how much time do you and your colleagues spend down below the water playing the blame game, blaming others? And it's not wrong to go there. It's not wrong. Sometimes it's therapeutic. You need to understand reasons why. What would be wrong is if you stayed there. You'll never achieve anything in your personal or professional life while you're playing the blame game. Just won't. The equation doesn't work. So this is from Rocky 27, and in this clip, Rocky's talking to his son, and his son is complaining that his father's decision is ruining his life. And then just listen to the words that they use and watch some of the body language, and then we'll discuss it.
That you don't have to do it.
Yeah, well, I think I do.
You know, living with you, it hasn't been easy. People see me, but they think of you. Now with all this going on, this is gonna be worse than ever.
It don't have to be.
No, sure it does.
Why? You got a lot going on, kid.
What, my last name? That's the reason I got a decent job. That's the reason why people deal with me in the first place. Now I start to get a little ahead. I start to get a little something for myself, and this happens. Now I'm asking you as a favor not to go through with this, okay? This is only gonna end up bad for you, and it's gonna end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
It's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this, but you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
So there you go, gang. The next time somebody comes up to you with an excuse, there's your rebuttal. So I'm out of time. I just want to close by saying I appreciate it, sharing some information. There will be information on the web. You can steal all the stuff off the website, videos, papers, whatever you want to go. There's more, a lot more. But I would just say, I'll close with this. Live and lead accountably. Thank you so much.